DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Max Rushden in for Jim White
on talkSPORT.
Morning everybody, this is Max Rushden in for Jim on talkSPORT with Wix right now. Wix, buy one, get one free on single value deck boards. Hurry. The offer ends on Thursday. Micky Gray, Bob Mills alongside me. And we're joined in the studio by Kevin George, former footballer, now author. Kevin, nice to see you. Thanks for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
You came on when we were doing the afternoon show. I just do whatever show they ask me to do when someone's away or lying drunk in a gutter somewhere. And we did 15 minutes and it wasn't enough, Kev.
No.
So we've got 45 now.
Brilliant.
That may be too much, but we'll find out, won't we? And part of it is because I was just saying to you off air, we spend so much time on this radio station talking about the game, who's going, rumours, managers. We don't talk a lot about actually the art of playing football, and we don't talk about the psychology of being a footballer that much. Tell us your story as a footballer and what you do now and how you got to that place.
I think, well, my story was I was a schoolboy at West Ham and a young pro at Charlton. And, you know, I got released from, I'm going to give you the short version, but I got released from Charlton after growing up in football being told that, you know what, if you put the work in, you'll get an opportunity. And I never got the opportunity. And, you know, Keith Peacock, who was the assistant at Charlton at the time, said, you know what, in all the years he's been doing it, he agreed with me that I deserved a chance. So I found that quite hard to take. And that affected my relationship with football moving forward, because I would be extremely fit before I even went into the professional environment because I wanted it so bad, to then going on trial, I weren't even fit. Like, you know, my whole response to football just completely changed. Not consciously, but unconsciously, I was damaged. So I just went away from football, set up a company in education, but I love football and all my friends were still in the pro game and I knew people in there anyway. So when I started to study NLP, studying counselling, psychotherapy, just reading books, I started to think, you know what, this doesn't make sense. And I started to reflect on my own life, then speak to players that I knew and hearing their stories, and I'm like, no, this is crazy. Then started to look at other sports and life in general, and I started to just connect the dots. So when I would sit in a class on counselling and psychotherapy and I'm talking about rapport building, I'm looking at managers that I've played under and thinking, okay, well, how comes they never got the best out of this player? They didn't know anything about leadership. Yes, they played the game, they've got a career, but that's nothing to do with leadership. You've had an experience of playing, not leading. Then I started to learn about unconscious competence, which blew my mind. In football, people say footballers aren't clever, but to do anything in life, you have to know how to do it. So I feel that footballers are super intelligent in what they do and how they do it. But again, when I was at West Ham, I was under Tony Carr, he's a legend. He's seen as one of the best youth coaches in the country. And I thought I enjoyed playing under him, but him alongside all the others, no one spoke to me about unconscious competence. No one said, we are doing this to develop your unconscious thinking so you can free up your conscious mind to focus on the game at that moment in time. And I feel that football at the moment is focusing on probably only a small % of potential. So we can have great players like Joe Coles that come through at my time and all those other guys, but I feel we have many sleeping giants that we bypass, and they're waiting for someone to unlock that potential inside them.
So in the book, the first thing you talk about, or like really early on, and I said this to Micky off air about, you know, as a footballer, we all watch the game, we've all played it to a certain level. Getting the ball and giving the ball, what happens you have 3 seconds, and you've got like an 18-stage set of things that happen when you get the ball. I was going to read this to you, Micky, right? And it's a long list, but I'll do it quickly. 1, visualise the different options open to them. When they get the ball, they can select and apply an action within milliseconds. 2, decide how to receive the ball. 3, decide what to do with their first touch. 4, be aware of space. 5, be aware of teammates. 6, be aware of opponents. 7, assess the capability of their opponents. 8, select the weakest person to face in that scenario. 9, choose whether to dribble, pass or shoot. 10, be aware of the different parts of their body. 11, coordinate the parts of the body. 12, be aware of the ball. 13, be aware of what will happen after they give the ball to a teammate. 14, think of the appropriate technique to use, how the ball will arrive to the teammate. 15, select the technique. 16, think of which foot to use. 17, assess whether the ball is in the right place to connect effectively. 18, execute. Now, you've played football. I don't know if you ever thought of those stages.
One word I'd use for all that is instinct.
Exactly, and this is what I'm saying. We simplify things. So when I said unconscious competence before, we say habit. In football, we say instinct. But how do you develop that? because it's practice, and what you're doing is in the game. So if you look at a time when you played a match, I know that as soon as a player has the ball and he looks up, I know I'm going to make my movement. But when I make my movement, I have to have an image in my head of what I'm going to do. So if you have the ball and Max makes a run, I need to now think, okay, so I'm going to give it to Max, but I need 2 sub options as well, because if Max, that option goes, I can't then rely solely on that, because if the person marks him, takes that option out of the game, I've got to think about something else to do.
But then you're relying on your other teammates making the option for you.
No, I'm not, because what the play is happening anyway. So it's a case of, I could have Max making a run and somebody stationary. So I can think, okay, I'm going to give Max, he's making a run in behind, I can play him in. If that gets cut off, I'm going to play the guy that's literally the easy option right beside me. But I need to have like 3 options. The best players can literally flick through the options like nothing. And that's why when you go back to Champions League final, you had Marcelo crossing the ball to Gareth Bale. It was a whip. It was like between Marcelo's boot and Gareth Bale's connection. That was about 2 seconds. So you have to assess all these situations at once. Even going back to, I don't want to just focus on overhead kicks, but even Wayne Rooney's one in the Man U derby.
City, yeah.
Did you see how when the cross came in, how he had to assess the flight of the ball, and he actually did a little jockey to one side? These are all the things you have to consider at once. So when we look at instinct, you're right, but those things they all come under instinct. The best players like Paul Scholes, he has that windscreen wiper head for a reason. He's collecting data, and he knows everything that's going on there. And Ronaldinho could not do a no-look pass without actually knowing what's going on. You know, he's already collected that information, and he's thinking, okay, if that player goes there and cuts that off, I'm going to go somewhere else.
But I think every player should have a picture in his mind as he's receiving the ball.
Yeah.
That is what you get told from your coaches as you're growing up. But then the coach can only tell you it so many times before you pick it up, and you take that information into your brain. So when that ball's coming to you, my coaches, I remember I was at Sunderland, and we had a coach called Bobby Saxton, and he said to me, you should have, and you just mentioned it there, 3 options in your mind as a left back. Your wide player should be your first pass, your second pass should be into a midfield player, and your third one, if there's nothing on, is put it in behind the fullback that you're playing against. That was my 3 options. Obviously, on certain occasions, or many occasions, when you've got the ball, you probably have more than 3. But they're the 3. As soon as he said that to me, that made my game a lot easier. And what I worked on through training, whether you did an 11v11 or whatever you were doing in training, was that in training. Until it filtered into my brain where it was just natural. I didn't have to think about it. I knew those 3 options would be there for me. But that was coming from a coach. You know, this is like... And I'm not disrespecting what you've done here, by the way. I'm just saying to you as it is, right? My coach was my mentor at the time. Yeah. You have a manager who goes into a dressing room with you on a match day, and you listen to what your manager has to say. But through the week, your coach is your coach. Yeah. So he's my eyes and ears. I've got to then soak that all in as a sponge, take on board what I know what he wants from me. But then... what about the mental side of it as well? You know, you talk about players, individual players, who, and I've seen so many of them, by the way. In 20 years of playing the game, I've seen so many talented players from Monday to Friday. You put them on a field on a Saturday, scared to death.
Well, do you know what? Before we go on to that, I just want to, for people that listen, just to be clear. So just talking about the instinct and what your coach told you, you still had to be capable of doing that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah,
and so the reason why you have top players like someone like Santi Cazorla, who's absolutely unbelievable, is that because he can use both feet, it opens up his option pool. Whereas you, like, what will make you different from being a pro and somebody else is that they can't construct those images. So it's one thing a coach telling you that, but it's one thing you being able to do that. So what is the process? We can't just say it's instinct. There's a process that happens within you. So you having those images in your head, you know that, for example, what did you say your first option would be?
To my left winger.
To your left winger. So if that gets cut off, if you're, I don't know if it's going to be to feet, but that person marking him cuts him out, what would you do? The ball's coming towards you. What are you going to do? So you're going to go to your left winger.
Yeah.
The person marking your left winger now picks up their information because you might look. Yeah. So now he goes and shuts that left winger off, so you can't give it to him. What are you going to do?
Then I look for my midfield player.
Okay, so the ball's coming to you. The person's marking you now is steaming into you. You're going to again play it to who, sorry?
My midfield player.
Exactly. So what we're talking about is the process. Does that make sense?
It makes sense.
All this is going on within half a second.
And I just think...
This is what coaches say to you, right? In a play, right. Yeah. But this is... You can fill your brain with so much information, right? But it's game management. You don't know from game to game, from minute to minute, from second to second what is going to happen in a game. And that's why I keep saying it's instinct. And it is all instinct.
But sorry,
you got to go. You got to go to a break.
Carry on this. It's all right. We've got 3 sections, Kev, so we can do this. Bob, you can pitch in whenever you like, or just listen. That's fine. It is Max in for Jim. Kevin George joins us. His book is Soccology. It's fascinating. I want to talk about Ronaldo playing football in the dark. I want to talk about the mental side of it as well, which Micky brought up as well. We'll be back in just a second.
Jim White on talkSPORT with Wix. September Trade Essentials. At Wix, pick up 10 litres of Dulux Trade Supermat Emulsion for just £31.50 a tub when you use your Trade Pro discount. Always cheaper with Wix Trade Pro.
Have you seen my keys anywhere?
Are they in the dining room?
Nope.
Drawing room?
No.
Ballroom?
Nope.
Library?
Nope.
Indoor pool?
Nope.
Outdoor pool?
Nope.
Tennis courts?
Nicer problems to have. This Tuesday there's a £40 million jackpot. Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
You want a quality van at an everyday price? Well, this could be just the deal you're looking for.
What's that coming over the hill, Van Monster?
Right now at Van Monster, we've got incredible offers like these 2015 Mercedes Sprinters from only £164 a month, with features like a free 6-month warranty as standard. See all the vans and all the deals right now at vanmonster.com. Conditions apply. Deposit payable. Offers to business users only.
Numbers. You've always been good with numbers. Well, you are an accountant, and now accountable for a big new client who's counting on you to deliver. Hire new help. Not much help. Hire newer help. Get a new office. Treat the team to a round. Ouch. Good job numbers are looking up. Direct Line keeps up with your world when you make changes to your staff, turnover or location. Change to us and we won't be beaten on price. Can your business insurance do that? Search Direct Line for business.
New customers only, excluding van. Cover on equivalent basis to ours. Qualifying criteria apply. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
Plumbing, paint, power tools and hand tools, landscaping, ladders, lighting and electrical, sealants, security, storage and safety, workwear, fixings, heating and radiators. The all-new Toolstation catalogue is packed with our biggest ever range of trade quality products. Over 11,000 tools, supplies and accessories, all with prices that are... Pick up your free Toolstation catalogue now at all 300 branches.
Forget the past. Get ready for a bright new future with BetBright, official bookmaker of talkSPORT 2. It's time to harness the horse racing, be fanatical about the football, and believe in the boxing in the brightest way ever. Throughout the day, every day with BetBright, official bookmaker of talkSPORT 2. New customers can deposit £20 and play with £40 because you'll get a £20 sportsbook bonus when you deposit £20. 5 times wagering to release bonus. Minimum odds 1.8. 18 plus BGamblerWare.org.
talkSPORT Traffic and Travel with Checkertrade.com. Visit Checkertrade.com/radio to find out how Checkertrade.com can help grow your business from just $69.99 a month plus VAT. Checkertrade.com.
On the M6 in Staffordshire, going southbound between junction 15 at Stoke-on-Trent and Stafford Services, one lane is blocked in the roadworks there because of a vehicle that's broken down. It is causing some delays on the approach. The A41 at Woodcote in Shropshire, some very heavy traffic in both directions. There's some roadworks there with some temporary signals. And in Buckinghamshire, the M1 southbound on the exit slip road at junction 14 at Milton Keynes, a lorry's broken down, one lane is closed, traffic remains slow. I'm Jason Johnson.
When working at a growing business, you wear many hats. The new business hat, the fixing the copy machine hat, the sifting through tons of CVs hat. You can throw away that last hat thanks to Indeed.com. When posting your job, Indeed lets you add screener questions that give you a more efficient route to your shortlist of qualified candidates. So go ahead, dust off that extra long lunch hat. And to accelerate your hiring even more, Indeed offers sponsored jobs. New users can try a premium placement for free at Indeed.com/redeem. Terms, conditions and quality standards apply. Additional terms online.
Enjoy a Tuesday night fusillade of febrile football commentary as Sunderland engage Stoke under-21s in the Checkertrade Trophy. Kick-off 7:45 on the radio station with the brother from a different mother, talkSPORT 2.
Good morning, everybody. You're listening to talkSPORT. Max in for Jim. Micky Gray, Bob Mills alongside me. Kevin George is in. Kevin's had some feedback for you. Andrew says Jimmy Greaves, George Best, Pele, all the old school greats. Did they need all this psychology bleep? Football isn't rocket science. Rob, what a load of rubbish. Typically in this day and age, you get these people trying to find a reason and just inflate a sport to such complicated levels. Football is about vision, instinct. It's a simple game overcomplicated by idiots, he says. I just wondered if you sort of that idea of overcomplicating a very simple thing.
No, I think we simplify it. I think football's very complicated. I think when you look at the great players, when I look at someone like David Silva and Cesc Fabregas, who cleverly find space between the lines, I think when people can actually do that, I wouldn't be able to do that to that level. So what is that? Is that just instinct? We simplify it as instinct? I don't believe so. I think you've got people that are clever when they read the game. What are they doing? What's the process?
There's a bit in the book about Ronaldo, about an experiment he did where they turn the lights off when a ball is crossed to him. Explain that, because it seems totally ridiculous.
So basically, the top footballers, obviously, they process information from their coaches and they can go out and carry out the instruction. And I think also, in terms of in real time, they do the same. So Ronaldo, in that experiment with Andy Ansar, I can't remember which brand it was, but they had a person who was like an amateur footballer and Ronaldo. And what they would do is these tests where Andy would cross the ball and switch off the light as soon as he made a connection with the ball. And so what they were measuring is how much information did Ronaldo need to anticipate where the ball was going. So as soon as the ball left Andy's foot, they switched the light, or you heard boom, and then you heard the net just rustle. Goal. They switched the light on the balls in the net. When you had the amateur player,
in pitch black.
Pitch black.
I've seen that.
Yeah, so you can look it on YouTube. Then you got the amateur player, cross, you don't hear anything, misses it. And this is live examples of what's in the book. So when people say, oh, we're overcomplicating it, what was making the difference between Ronaldo and that player? We can say instincts, but we're simplifying it. It's more complex.
Does that come down to ability as well?
But then what is it? So if we say ability...
Yeah, but I mean, like, why do players play in the Premier League? Why do players play in League Two? And why do these League Two players, if you talk about instinct and giving them so much of this information... Let's say on a 6-month basis, right? So you just fill their brain with all this information, instinct, giving them confidence, etc., etc. That player, you can't teach anybody how to get quicker. This player might be 2 or 3 yards shorter than Cristiano Ronaldo, you just mentioned before. You can't then give him 6 months information and go, right, you're going to be as quick as Cristiano Ronaldo. You'll be able to get in behind a centre forward. And in a year's time, you're going to be playing in the Premier League and be as good as Cristiano Ronaldo. There has to be some inner belief and that natural ability, what Max mentioned before. That is in you before you can give anybody any information.
100%. You've got what you have. What you bring to the game naturally will always be a plus. What you bring naturally, but it's not a case of giving information. It's about, as we always do in football, about practicing. So Ronaldo wouldn't have had that naturally. But when you keep practicing, when you look at someone like Beck's practicing free kicks, when you look at players who stay out and do extra, when you do extra, that's what you're training yourself for those situations, for instinct. It's why Rooney, it's like why Ian Wright used to visualise being in goal scoring opportunities, and they're storing that data in their mind. And I feel that the best coaches it's not about sitting players down and talking and giving information. It's about creating that on the training field. So you might even give a physical example. Then you might actually use an example of a pro that's great at doing it. Then you might just drip little bits to them. But there's different ways of speaking when it comes to developing those players. And that's why I've been watching... Since I come out of the game, I've been watching academy football for years and 23s. And I always say the players now are technically more, since I've been in the game and watching, they're the best. I wouldn't say they're the best footballers, but technically they're the best because of contact time and information.
Elvis says, I'm a coach for 11 years. This is spot on. The first time I've read what I think as a coach. Most don't get it, think it, and practice it. I want to move on to the mental side of it. And there was a footballer you brought up, Owen Price, in the book. It was a winger at Charlton, is that right?
Yep.
And went to Spurs for about $500,000 as a youth team player.
Yep.
And didn't make it because... And you remember him, Bob?
I remember he scored the goal, didn't he?
Yeah, the record.
And that's a stupid thing to say.
He scored the goal.
You know what I mean? He scored the goal.
Yeah. What do you mean by the goal?
I think it's still the fastest goal that's ever been scored in a cup final. It was the school's cup final, wasn't it?
Yeah, Highbury.
But I mean, grown up. I mean, not like little kids.
Yeah.
And he just the centre forward just nicked it sideways and he chipped the keeper.
And there's a player who had massive talent, went to Spurs, and it didn't happen because of how he was treated as a player.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I mean, but that story is throughout football. It happened to me at Charlton. I had, reserve manager's son on the bench for the youth team, but he was in the reserves in front of me. I had the academy director hammer our team one time. We was playing against Ipswich, and Darren Ambrose, we was winning 3-1, or 3-0, and Darren Ambrose got a hat-trick from midfield. We got hammered. And he's like, none of you deserve to be in the reserves except Kevin. Reserve game came during the week. 5 players went, I didn't go, and one of them was the reserve manager's son, Glenn Snoddin, his son Lee Snoddin, in reserves. And I had to manage that, and I found that really difficult, and that affected my performance. Because
and an Owen story is similar?
Oh, yep, he had it in the academy, because when he got bought from Charlton to Tottenham, the manager at Spurs, who was a former Tottenham player, he was playing in that guy's position. And so what Owen had to part with was hear the manager say, oh, you know, they bought him for all this money, or he's on all this money, and basically he's not worth it. And he's hearing that from his teammates that are on the bench. And then what made it worse, when he went up to reserves, he had another former Spurs player whose son got brought in from Barnet, again, trying to shift him out. And obviously, I don't want to go into too much info, it's in the book. But these are not one-off stories. There's plenty.
So, how many people slip through the net? It's interesting. People, I don't know, anyone listening, if you slip through the net for whatever reason, how many players have done, do you think that's happened to, who should, on a purely ability level, be playing at the top level or playing in the Championship?
I think there are so many. I think there's so many players, and it's not just because of that. I just think that I feel that football focuses only on football. And it doesn't matter which environment you're in, whether you're at home with your partner, whether you're at work, your emotions govern your performance regardless. And I feel that at the moment, I think that's where we're lacking in football.
Do you agree with that, Micky? Are you a forward-thinking man or old school?
Listen, that's what I've got to make that point, right? I'm not playing in today's game, and it has completely changed. You know, I mean, there's so many people around. You know, there seems to be more staff around a football training ground than there is players. You see them on match days now. You know, we had a first team coach, the manager, and then you had a masseur, your physiotherapist, and maybe a doctor in the background, and that was pretty much it. The kit man. And that was it. That was your information. You've built up all your information through the week, and then you played a game on a Saturday. If you weren't ready and you weren't playing well, you were off the pitch and you didn't play the week after. It's a different game altogether now. So I have to sit back sometimes and take it all in. You mentioned about players who haven't made the grade, and I touched on it before. From Monday to Friday, I've seen so many great players in training Monday to Friday, and then you put them on a pitch on a Saturday, and they just shrink. They shrink because they're nervous, they're frightened. And you talk about instinct and everything. You have got to have, as a football player, and this is from Monday to Saturday, Monday to Sunday, 7 days a week throughout the whole of a season, you've got to have that mental strength and character, because there's no other place like sitting in a dressing room with another 25 teammates. If you're not ready for that, you can easily slip out of football.
And that's what we'll talk about next. There's a really interesting bit on the culture of the dressing room. We'll go into that in just a sec.
Jim White on talkSPORT with Wix. September trade essentials at Wix. 25 kilogram Blue Circle cement. It's just £3.51 a bag when you use your Trade Pro discount. Always cheaper with Wix Trade Pro.
It's here, but not for long. Existing and new customers can get Sky's best ever offer on Sky Sports and Entertainment, both in stunning HD. Enjoy over 500 epic live football games and indulge in award-winning shows on Sky Atlantic, all for only £40 a month, saving you over £350. But this offer won't last long. Search sky.com. £20 standard setup for new Sky TV customers. Kit loaned at no cost. New 18-month minimum terms requires HDTV. Saving based on 18-month minimum contract versus £60 per month out of contract.
Since our first car hit the road in 1898, Renault has always used the latest innovations to make driving more enjoyable. And for our 120th anniversary, we're going to make things just that little bit easier by giving you £500 off the list price. Come and celebrate 120 years of Renault and get an extra £500 off your new car when you book a test drive at Renault.co.uk/drive by the 1st of October. Order by October 1st and register by December 31st, 2018. Excludes Zoe and Renault Sport. Retail customers only at participating dealers. T's and C's apply.
It's pedal to the metal as petrol heads across the UK join the race for the all-new Motor Awards. Go to thesun.co.uk/motors now to cast your votes alongside a team of top motoring experts from The Sun, The Times and The Sunday Times, and you could win a top-spec stay in Dubai. Get in the driving seat for the most exciting petrol-powered prizes of the year. The Motor Awards 2018 with Bridgestone tyres. For more information and to vote, go to thesun.co.uk/motors.
If you're a dual-fuel smart meter installer, self-motivated and customer-focused, and would like to potentially earn up to £40,000 a year plus benefits, we want to talk to you. We are Amy, and every single year we install thousands of smart meters on behalf of a number of major energy suppliers. By using smart meters, families and businesses can manage their energy better. So, if you're qualified and would like to be an installer for Amy, just text the word SMART to 82222. That's SMART to 82222.
Have you seen my keys anywhere?
Are they in the dining room?
Nope.
Drawing room?
No.
Ballroom?
Nope.
Library?
Nope.
Indoor pool?
Nope.
Outdoor pool?
Nope.
Tennis courts?
Nicer problems to have. This Tuesday there's a £40 million jackpot. Euro Millions from the National Lottery. Estimated jackpot. Rules and procedures apply. Players must be 16 or over.
It's another great result from the #1 team for tilers.
CTD Tiles is back with more big saves with their trade essential deals.
Check them all out at ctdtrade.co.uk.
Including 25 kilos of Bell Level Max floor leveller, buy 5 or more for just $11.99 each.
And become our latest signing. Open your free trade account for up to 60 days credit and free delivery.
See all 100 CTD trade centres nationwide, plus VAT at 20%. T's and C's apply.
One tweet. This is the best thing I've heard for a long time on your show. Very hard to explain to almost everyone about how I feel about coaching. He's spot on. Will this be on a podcast? I'd like to listen to it again. And the next one says, "This is Bob's fallen asleep like the rest of us." So that's what happens.
Bob hasn't fallen asleep, by the way.
Robert says, Mickey's lucky. This weekend we had 11 players and a water bottle, and the water bottle was man of the match. Kevin George in the studio for the next 15 minutes. Talk about the work he does going into professional football clubs. Talk about the culture of the dressing room in just a sec. Before that, Ben's got the sports news.
One of Alistair Cook's former England teammates has told talkSPORT he has mixed views about the former skipper being afforded a send-off at the Oval later this week. Nick Compton says it is well deserved, but the sooner England try out replacement openers, the better. The Scotland squad are fully behind their new captain Andy Robertson, that according to midfielder Kevin McDonald. The Liverpool fullback will lead the side against Belgium and Albania. And Andy Murray has confirmed he'll miss the Davis Cup tie with Uzbekistan later this week as he continues rehabilitation following hip surgery. Remember, both England's friendlies in the coming days are live and in full here on talkSPORT.
Drive with Adrian Durham and Darren Goff on talkSPORT.
Go home with something a lot more interesting than Tanya with the teeth from accounts.
Where shall I put my coat?
Drive with Adrian Durham and Darren Goff. Enjoyed by gentlemen, hosted by scoundrels. Or is it the other way around? No, I was right the first time. Drive with Durham and Goffy.
Butter me buns!
This afternoon from 4 on talkSPORT.
Hi, good morning. You're listening to Max Rushden on talkSPORT with Wix. Right now, Wix, buy one, get one free on single value deck boards. Hurry, offer ends Thursday. £100 gift voucher. Wix gift card for the best caller, 08717 22 3344. If you were on the books of a club as a young player and didn't make it, love to hear from you, 08717 22 3344. Here's a text. Mickey's right about mental strength. Shola Amiobi's a great example. Was almost unplayable in training and reserve games. Couldn't really hack it at the top level, although he was a good enough player. Nobby. I don't know if that's Nobby Solano.
I was just thinking that. It was a great player, Nobby Solano, but it's obviously somebody that's played with Shola. Yeah. But that's just, one example of a player. I mean, Shola didn't have a bad... He's still actually playing, I think. He's at Notts County, isn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, Shola was a good player, but when you talk about players and having that mental strength when they played on a weekly basis, did Shola have that when he played for Newcastle?
Scored in the derbies, though, didn't he? I think he's got a good record in the
Nah,
derbies
but you know
against
what?
your mob.
Can I just bring us back down to earth for a second?
Absolutely, Bob.
Scott Barwick, 23 years, 6 days a week, and I'm not on thousands of pounds a week. I get abused about dropping elastic bands on Bob Mills's doorway, and you'll continue to get that abuse. So us posties must have some real mental strength. My dad was a long-distance lorry driver. Mm-hmm. Not the most intelligent man in the world. A lovely, lovely man, but not the sharpest tool in the box. But drove a Scammell, which is one of the most biggest and most dangerous in the days of the jackknife. Most jobs have to have the same thing, don't they? Lorry drivers, if you got in a car, you probably would never move an inch if you had to think about what you were going to do, because it's incredibly difficult, and you're making these judgments all the time. Is this not what everyone does in every job in life?
When you get in a car, if you think about it, when you first did your driving lessons, right, you literally thought about every little thing you do. And now, when you look at it, and I know most people do this, if you do a route that you always do, you have people that actually daydream. Because you know
exactly,
what it is.
because you're doing it on instinct. That's what I'm saying.
Exactly, yeah.
This instinct is kicked in with experience.
Exactly.
So isn't that the same as footballers?
Exactly, but what is instinct? And this is why I'm saying I'm bringing it back to unconscious competence. It's all managing all this stuff. Once your brain figures out, okay, I get this now. I don't need to consciously think about it. Let me push it to the back so I can think about other things.
But do footballers need to know that it's unconscious competence, or do they just need to be... It's have them drummed into them?
I don't think they need to know, because we've got this far without them not knowing. I feel like if I was in a club, or if I was managing a club, and now the next level is about information, I would make it a priority to talk about this stuff. Me personally, because I think, okay, where can I get the edge? Physically now, everyone's got the top sports scientists, they got everything. Now, everyone's moving to the psyche. That's why you're getting little parts of neurodoping popping up. That's why players now, when you look at our centre-backs, it's about, everything is more about decision-making. It's not just about coach shouting, decision-making, like they did in the 90s. It's literally about developing decisions.
I want to talk about the dressing room. You go into professional football clubs and present a programme called The Grey Area. Explain what that is, because Micky was talking about you've got to survive in a dressing room, right? It's an interesting word, survive.
Yeah. But the thing is, I don't think you have to survive in there. And I think the problem you have is that back in the day, people said, oh, that's just how it is. But actually, there's a lot of damaged people from back in the day, you know, and I feel that sometimes we always kind of play up how the past was, but it's relentless. I've had players crying in the changing room. Literally, I'll go in there and I say, okay, who's upset, angry or sad about banter? And then they're like, oh yeah, now we're all right, whatever. And I'm like, I'm not having that, because at the beginning of all my sessions, I say, I expect you to be open, honest and transparent. And I'm going to be the same. So I tell them, I've had, as I said, players crying, once they realise that I'm going to challenge them, because most of the time in the football clubs, they'll get people that are probably intimidated because they're professional footballers anyway. Once they realise that, okay, this guy's not having it, or I do an activity which pull it out, you get literally guys calling over each other. Literally calling over each other. Because you know what it's like with banter. Some guys just smile and laugh it off, but it hurts them. Get bantered about your touch. And the thing is, we have to ask ourselves, is it really banter? Because you're not going to banter Messi about his touch. He's got a great touch. So there's truth in it. And there's a line. And this is what they say to me. Oh, you know what, Kev? As long as you don't cross the line. So I say, okay, where's the line? The line's subjective. My line's going to be different to yours, Max. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, so,
and your dressing room experience, you know, as a youth team player in, you know, old football days, Micky, was, you know, this is what it is. If you're a youth team player, you know, you get the stick, and when you're an experienced player, you give it out, kind of thing.
Well, when I was playing, there was 3 dressing rooms. So there was a youth team dressing room, a reserve team dressing room, and a first team dressing room. And I was frightened out my skin to go anywhere near the first team dressing room. You had to be invited into it. You know, and that's what the managers and the coaches will say to you. If you're good enough, when you get old enough and you deserve to be in that first team dressing room, you can open that door and you can go in willingly as much as you want to go in it. That's how it was at the start. Then it started to evolve football. We got everybody involved. So the reserves, all of the people who were basically on professional contracts, we were all in one dressing room. And then younger players would respect the first team players. I think that respect's completely changed now and again. I really do.
And people say, oh, we should, you know, young players should be cleaning boots of senior players. A sort of cliche.
Well, look, that's not, you know, it's not the hardest thing in the world to do. I actually still think that should be in the game. I really do.
And do you think that, Kev?
I'll be honest, I don't have an opinion on it. What I don't agree with is that if there has to be a reason. I don't like when I hear people say young kids need to be cleaning boots, but there's no reason. They will say, oh, they're getting big time or they need discipline. If I'm a coach, because I applied the same method when I taught in the school. If I'm a coach and my players aren't disciplined and don't listen, I've got to look at myself. I'm not going to say, okay, go and do a job and hoping that will discipline you.
No, it's not a punishment.
No, I'm not saying a punishment, but I can't rely on a job to instill discipline in my players. If I'm coaching them, I have to look at myself. I'm leading the group. I'm the leader. And that's the way I look at it. And I've not heard one person say, I feel that if players clean boots and give me something that can actually break down and say, okay, this will develop X in them. As a coach, I have to develop whether it's their technical ability, I've got to look out for their welfare, I've got to make sure I keep them level-headed. I'm responsible for that. And if I'm relying on them doing jobs to do that, I've got to look in the mirror.
No, yeah, that's why I mentioned it not being a punishment. I think it's just what it was when I was younger. I think it was kind of a respect thing that you just didn't even think about. You know, it's just talking about the thought process again, right? I cleaned their boots at my professional, so you get designated 3 players when you're a young lad. So you go in, you clean the boots, you used to put their kit out. That all gets done for them now. But because I did that, when I become a reserve player and a young apprentice did it for me, I appreciated it then. I appreciated it more. And exactly the same thing when I become a first-team player. When I was playing on a regular basis, if my young apprentice used to come in and bring my boots and they were all polished and your kit and everything was all laid out for you, I appreciated it because I've been through the same process. But all that's been taken away now, and I think this is where personalities come into it, when you've got 16, 17-year-old young lads who obviously are in their own dressing room. When they see first-team players now, you talk about respect in football a lot. Right, I respect what that player's done now. He's played 250 first-team football games. I'm 17 years old, but I'm acting the way he is because I see it on a daily basis. Why shouldn't I be acting like him? But they can walk into a first-team dressing room now, and they're like best friends. They play 2 games, and that's it. Right, okay, I've made it now. And I think that's where the respect thing's gone out of the game. I mean, have you actually... You've spoken to players on a basis, so you speak to the players. What isn't exactly what you tell them?
So I made sure I didn't want to do it as an interview, so it's a conversation. So the players are like...
Are they 100% honest with you? You think they still hold back? Because they probably do.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
But the thing is, this is the issue I have. So I spoke to loads of players, but a lot of stuff I can't use because people are scared. So, like, right now, I've got even just a message from a coach now and a voice note, but I know I can't say it. Players share things, but they're scared to speak. I agree with what you say in terms of if you're cleaning boots and when you go to the first team, you appreciate it. I feel that there's this thing back in the day where it's like bullying you used to have in the first team. I feel, and separations for no reason. In the book, you've got Moses Ashikodi, who was 15 at Millwall, getting punched in the face by a first team player because he was struggling with the banter he was getting from others. And I feel at the end of the day, there's this respect and this separation which doesn't make sense. You've got the separation of training grounds nowadays, which doesn't make sense to me because you've got elite footballers from the top of their field, and I learnt so much from seeing Rio literally laughing and clowning in training, like in the gym, but how serious he was out on the training field. It taught me that actually you can have fun, but when you go on that pitch, it's work. I had Clive Mendonca teach me about financial literacy. Chris Powell, model pro. We separate it, and I think I would miss out on all of that. It just doesn't make sense to me. And I think football, I feel we need more reasons for doing stuff. Too many guys just copy for the sake of copying, and this is why we say Wenger changed the game, Mourinho changed the game, Pep changed the game. You know why? Because they're brave enough. They looked at it and think, why am I doing this? I don't have a reason. But people just simplify things and do it for the sake of doing it because others did it. And I think that's what it is. It's like, what is your reason?
Kevin, fascinating talk to you. Thank you so much for coming in. The book's Soccology. Kevin George wrote it. Appreciate your time. This is talkSPORT. Max in for Jim, Micky Gray, Bob Mills on Simon. We're here till 1, then it's Hawksby and Jacobs.